Significance of six. The six types of wealth. Shat Sampatti. There are six verses in the Nirvana Shatkam, and we are going to see the significance of six. The recap of the previous video titled The Significance of Six was about afflictions or Shat Urmi of a Jiva that are thirst, hunger, grief, delusion, decay and death. In this video, we are going to understand the six virtues which are in the form of wealth. They are mental disciplines for ceasing the incessant activity of the mind. For that, the desires and their renunciation is to be understood carefully. Everything stems from the root of desire. Desire is a want for something or someone, or in other words, objects in their various forms. The mind is ensnared in a merry-go-round of various objects of desire, like money, gold, name and fame, house, vehicle, friend, spouse, progeny, etc. All these desires give transitory enjoyments. The transitory nature of the joys mean that once a desire is fulfilled, new ones take the old desire's place. Unless observed as a witness, one is unaware of this whirling of the mind. The incessant chase of the mind to the various objects of desire is always on. To realize this and take appropriate action through renunciation is Vairagya. In the ocean of samsara, desires are the sharks of hankering, and these shark-like desires need to be overcome. There are n number of desires circling around. Vairagya is the renunciation of the desire for transitory enjoyments. To achieve Vairagya, there are the six virtues that need to be cultivated. The six virtues are Shama, Dama, Titiksha, Shraddha, Uparati and Samadhan. Let us understand each of them. The first observation is that the objects of desire may give experiences which may be either positive or negative. The same object of desire has both positive and negative enjoyments. Shama is the calm equanimity of viewing the object of desire. We take the first example of money. Money can give joy when it fulfills the needs like food, shelter, etc. But money can give stress when trying to manage it. The mind is appeased by the realization that every object has two sides. This concept helps quieten the mind, and the virtue associated with it is Shama, which produces calmness. Further observation brings about the realization that each of the object has the propensity of expanding in either giving joy or woe. The joy may expand to ecstasy and the woe may lead to depression. When gold is desired, for it gives joy, as one goes about earning, saving and amassing it. But the growth of owning a lot of gold continues and the thought that the gold may be stolen may be a constant worry. The virtue of Dhamma addresses this tendency of the mind to grow within each of the object of desire. Through the practice of self-restraint of the mind, it leads to the taming and subduing each of the desires. The observation of the existence of an area of influence of a said object of desire is essential. Within the area contained in a boundary, titiksha is the capacity to tolerate delay, trouble or suffering without getting upset. That is, letting go of anxiety or lament. Patiently waiting for the desire to be gratified and enduring pain with tolerance regarding that same desire are necessary to be allowed. For example, having the desire of fame requires patience. Enduring the adversities of fame with fortitude is equally important. The realization that fame is transient, for what once is a joy can later become an annoyance, leads to be known the extent of influence the object of desire has over the mind. Titiksha or forbearance can be cultivated by this knowledge. Having experienced the joys and griefs of a certain desire, the knowledge that it is inevitably going to keep the mind busy is to be realized. The nature of keeping busy and being within its hold is to be understood. Keeping busy is an oscillatory and sequential mental activity. Shraddha is holding on to the belief at the instruction of the Guru that while the busyness is there, more importantly, a state of rest of the mind exists too. This state of rest is other than that which is enjoyed during deep sleep. The state of rest helps to wholeheartedly focus on the reality of how the mind works. A friendship is fulfilling the desire for social interaction. It has a transient nature. When a misunderstanding crops up, friendship may convert to enmity, which leads to grief. Despite the misunderstanding, holding on to the belief that the friend is trustworthy brings about joy in the friendship. The friendship by itself keeps one busy, ranging from deep friendship when one works towards building it to enmity, that is when one works against it. Without faith or Shraddha, no action is undertaken. Even when one is performing the simple act of drinking water, it involves the faith that the water is going to quench the thirst. If there is no faith regarding water quenching the thirst, one will never seek and drink the water which is detrimental to the health in the form of dehydration. Similarly, a firm judgment of mind is formed when one keeps faith on the Guru's words to understand the truth given in the scriptures. Through the next observation, one realizes the constant activity of the mind in one way or another. To get to the state of relaxed, rejuvenating rest, one needs to cultivate uparati or self-withdrawal, which is all about not redressing a situation. It is withdrawing from the interaction with the objects of desire. The fading out of the desire either way from joy or grief towards any object is the most important takeaway about uparati. It is the observation only which counts that allows the object of desire to run its course within the boundary of its influence, just to fade away. For example, if the object of desire is a house, withdrawing the strong attachment helps to rest the mind from both parting in it as well as the worry of its maintenance. The whirl of worry is quelled through withdrawal, and the mind can dwell in a state of rest. Now we put all the observations together. Firstly, we notice the general whirling of the mind moving from one object of desire to another. Next, we observed each of the objects of desire with the dual nature of giving joy or sorrow. Shama or equanimity is the virtue associated with it. Later, we observed the possible growth of the desire for an object. Dhamma or self-control is the virtue associated with it. After that, we observed the boundary within which the mind could dwell in. Titiksha or forbearance is the virtue associated with it. Then we observed the periodic, oscillatory and sequential movement from happiness to unhappiness and vice versa of an object of desire. The virtue associated with it is Shraddha or keeping the faith. Next, we observed that a state of rest is possible and upariti or withdrawal is the virtue associated with it. Finally, we observed the state of rest as proof that enriches the mind and leads to renunciation of desire. The virtue of samadhan or self-settledness when contentment reaches new heights of bliss and enables one to appreciate vairagya. It is said, when the flame of knowledge becomes steady, without the thoughts in any way flickering it, then the wealth is enjoyed the most. The mind becomes wealthy because now it has the power to concentrate with a single pointed focus on eternal truths. The jiva is freed from all encumbrances and can focus the study to understand Shiva concerning its existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute nature.